Hello and welcome to Module 10 in our Python series. Our focus today is going to be the calendar module, and our project for today is a to-do list application using Tkinter and text-to-speech. So it's going to be a talking to-do list application, if you will. But now to the calendar module, and the calendar module allows us to work with calendars. By default, Python calendars follow the European convention, where the start day of the week is Monday and the end day is Sunday. Right. Having said that, you can use the method set first weekday to change that start day of the week to any day you like. To do that, we need to create an instance of the calendar class. So let's now go to the Python shell. And before we create the instance of the class, we need to import the module. Once we've done that, we can proceed to create the instance of that class. Cal equal to module name dot class name. Okay. And if we look at the object now, you can see that it belongs to the calendar module and the calendar class within that module. This, of course, being the memory address at which it is created. Right? Now that we have that object, we can use that method to change the first day of the week. But how do we know what the day is currently? Right? So we can find out by using a method, iter weekdays. And so going back to the shell, I can say iwdays equal to cal.iter weekdays. No parameters there. If we look at iwdays as a generator object, which means now we can use a for loop to iterate or loop through those results. So for I in iwdays, print I, comma end equal to space will ensure that I don't move to the next line. And there we have it, and you can see that we have 0 as the start day of the week, and remember 0 represents Monday, which means we are following the Gregorian calendar, right? And of course 6 represents Sunday. Now we know that the start day of the week is Monday. To change that, we can say cal.set first weekday to 6, for example. And now, of course, you may think that we could run through this again, but with a generator object, we need to generate the results again. So we run the iwdays equal to calling iter weekdays method, and then for I in iwdays, print I, it will reveal the start day as Sunday now. You can also change the start day of the week by specifying first weekday here itself. I'm going to change that back to 0 now. So cal equal to calendar dot calendar, and we can see here first weekday equal to 0. Right, moving on to the next method, we have item and dates that we can use on this object. We need to pass in year and month. So now I can say iter or itm dates equal to cal.iter month dates, passing in year and month. itm dates, I spelled that wrong. itm dates is a generator object. For I in itm dates, print I, and give us all the dates for December. You can also see that we have the last 2 days of November there and the first 2 days of January as well. Right, now you can choose to see these dates in a different format using strftime. But of course, since this is a generator object, we need to generate the results again. So I'm just going to press the up arrow here and generate those results. And then we can see for I in ITM dates, and then instead of saying just print I, we can say print I dot strf time and pass in the directives. So %t for the full day, %b for the full month, %t for the date and number, comma, %y for the year. Close brackets, and there we have it. The next method is item month days. This is dates, this is days. Again, we need to pass in year and month. So ITM days equal to cal dot item month days, pass in the year and the month. And again, ITM days is a generator object for I in ITM days. Print I. And now you can see we have the dates for December. The zeros represent the dates that are outside of December. That is, first two are for the last 2 days of November, and these last two are for the first 2 days of January 2022. Moving on to the next method, which is item month days 2. Again, providing in year and month. ITM days 2 equal to cal dot item month days 2, and we need to provide year and month. ITM days 2 is a generator object, so for I in ITM days 2, print I, and now we have tuples. And if we look closely, you can see that the first item in the tuple are the dates for December. Of course, we have November dates there and January dates here, both 0. And then on the right hand side, you can see that we have the weekday numbers, with Monday being 0 and then Sunday being 6. So you can choose to print these in a different format, right? But first we need to generate the results again. I'm going to go up to that command where we generated the results. Once we have that, then we can print these out in a different format. How? We have a loop for I in ITM days 2, and within this loop we can first check if I of 1 is equal to 0, then we want to go to the next line. This will ensure now that we have each week printed on one line. Print, here we will say print I of 0, comma, end equal to space. Right, so we stay on the same line. Press enter, and there you have it. Right? So you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And again we have Monday, Tuesday, and so on and so forth. Moving on to the next method, which is item month days 3. ITM days 3 equal to cal dot item month days 3. Right? Again we need to pass in year and month. ITM days 3 is again a generator object. So for I in ITM days 3, print I. Now we have tuples. They are all dates, but can we use, for example, strf time with these? No, because strf time does not work with tuples. We need to convert these to string first and then work with them to print in any format we want. How do we convert them to string? Of course, we've got to first generate those results. Again, And then we can say for I in item days 3. Now we can create the string. So string equal to str of I of 0, right? So I of 0 would be the year, plus, just need to close that bracket there, plus str of I of 1, right? So this now would be the month, the second item in the tuple, plus str I of 2. Once we have the string created, we could directly use this string to create a date object. So from datetime, import datetime. Okay, and then you can say dt equal to datetime dot strip time, and provide the string and the format that the string currently has, which is %y, right? That's a full year, %m, %d. And then put in dot date there. So we create a datetime object. Once we have that, then we can print dt.iso format, for example. And you can see we have all those dates. Moving on to next method. We've seen item on days 3. Now we need to look at item on days 4. Itm days 4 equal to cal.item on days 4, passing in the year and the month. Itm days 4, Itm days 4, that should be, not 3. We can see that's a generator object as well. So for I in Itm days 4, print I. Now you can see we have tuples again, and now you know what to do with these, right? Moving on to the next method. Now we have month, dates, calendar, passing in year and month. So month, dates, calendar equal to cal dot month, dates, calendar, passing in the year and the month. mdt cal is a list of lists. As you can see here, if you look closely, you have a list that ends here, and then you have another list. So what are each of these lists representing? The week. So now we can print out each of these in a format we understand. For week in mdt cal, then for day in week, right? And then we can say print day dot strf time, and we can pass in the directive. So %a, let's say %b, and %d, comma %y. And you're free to choose whatever directives you want to use. There we have the dates. Moving on to the next. We have month, days, calendar, passing in year and month. Month, days, calendar equal to cal dot month, days calendar, passing in year and month. mdcal is a list of lists again, but you see these are just the dates, and of course we could print those out. So we can see here for week in mdcal, then for day in week, print day comma n equal to space. So we have each week on one line, right? And then we can have a blank print to go to the next line for the next week. And there we have it. You can also do something like this if you want the days here printed. And you can try this after the session. If you say print calendar dot week header and you put in the number 2 there, that's what you get. Right, so you can try that. Right, moving on. We have month calendar. Now, if I try to use this on the calendar object, cal.month calendar, passing in the year and the month, you see I get an error. But if I call the module calendar.month calendar, right, and if I look at mcal, you can see this is the same as we had earlier with the method Monday's calendar, right? So of course we can print this out as well so that we have each week on one line, right? So for x in, or rather for week in mcal, for day and week, print day comma end equal to space, and then a blank line to ensure we move to the next line after 1 week is printed out. And there we have the same output we got with the previous method, which is Monday's calendar, right? This one. Now coming to Monday's to calendar, Monday to cal equal to cal dot month days to calendar, passing in the year and the month. MD's to cal is going to be a list of tuples, right? And like we did earlier, you can use a similar method if you want the dates printed out in a format you understand. Moving on. The next method is year dates calendar, and we need to pass in just the year with being an optional parameter there. So year dates calendar equal to cal dot year dates calendar, pass in the year. ydcal is a sole host of datetime objects, which is quite dizzying actually, but you can see that we have levels of nesting here in terms of lists, that is, right? So we can make sense of all that data. We can see here for list in ydcal, and then for list 1 in list, and then for list 2 in list 1, and then finally You can say for date in list 2. Then you can say here print date. I'm going to use strf time and provide in those directives. So percentage E for the day in full, percentage B for the month in full, percentage D for the date, and percentage Y for the year in full. You could have a comma there. And then percentage Y. So you can see we have all the days for the year, right? Starting with, of course, the last 4 days of 2020. And then we've got all the days for 2021 as well. Moving on. Next method is year days to calendar. yd2cal equal to cal dot year days to calendar. Again, we need to pass in the year. yd2cal is a list of tuples, right? And again, you can see that we have these in. If you look closely, you can see the weeks here, right? So you can use what we did earlier to make sense of this data. Of course, you have to go through the list nestings. Moving on, year days calendar. Year days calendar equal to cal dot year days calendar. Provide in the year. yd_cal is again lists of lists, right? And again they're week wise, so I'm sure you can do this. Go down the nestings and then you can print out each of these, right? Moving on to the next object, which is a text calendar object. We've looked at an instance of the calendar class. We are looking at an instance of the text calendar class now. So you create that object. I'm saying text cal equal to calendar dot text calendar. And again, this works the same as, you could specify first weekday, etc. If you don't specify first weekday, then the default is 0. Text cal, as you would see, is a text calendar object or an instance of the text calendar class. Once we have that, we can now go and work with the methods provided. So we have format month, PR month. Let's look at those two first. These are going to give us the calendar for the month. So we go to format month first. So ctext equal to text cal dot format month, and here we need to say the year equal to 2021, the month equal to 12. We can have W for the width of the date column, so width equal to 0, I'm going to say now, and the number of days for number of lines rather for the week, I'm going to leave that as 0 as well. Print. Well, let's first look at the contents. Ctext. And you can see now we have \n included in this data that we've got. Now if we just say print ctext, we have the calendar for the month of December, right? You can put in any month there, right? You can put in November, October, etc. and you will get this. What about these two parameters? Now if we change that, so if we change this and we say, for example, 2, and let's say 3 here, and now we print this out, the spacing has changed totally, right? Okay, moving on. The next method is PR month. Text cal is our calendar object. Now we can use that again with PR month. Text cal dot PR month, and here we need to specify the year equal to 2021, the month, it has to be the month, so that's the parameter name equal to 12. And now that prints directly without us having to use the print command. Okay, so that's the difference between PR month and format month. Now moving on to the next methods, we have here format year and PR year. And as you may have figured out already, this one will print the calendar for the year. So with this method, difference being just as in PR month, here we will not have to call the print method. So let's try format year first. So for format year, FYR equal to text cal dot format year. We need to pass in the year, of course, and we have W equal to 0. Remember, that's the width of the date columns. And then we have L, number of lines per week, and then we have additionally C equal to 6, for example, which is the space between the months. Remember, we're printing out all the months for the year. And finally, we have M, which is the number of months per row. Okay, print FYR, and we have all the months for the year 2021. Right, again, we could change these parameters. Right, so let's make this 2 and let's make this 8. Print, and now you have just 2 columns, or 2 months rather, per row, and you have the space between the months, right, with 8 spaces there instead of 6. You can see there's a slight difference. Okay, moving on to the last, which is the print year. And here we just need to say cal, or rather text cal dot PR year, the year equal to 2021, comma, L equal to 0, W equal to 0, let's say M equal to 3, that's number of months per row, and C equal to 5 spaces between the months, and we have that directly without giving in the print command. Right? Okay, so I hope this is very clear. We're almost done with the calendar module. There are a couple of things more that we need to remember as far as the calendar module is concerned. I can see here calendar.month range, and put in there the year 2021 and the month, let's say 12. This will return the weekday of the first day of the month and the number of days in the month. So the weekday of the first day of the month is 2, considering 0 is Monday. That means the first day of the month is Wednesday. You can check that out by looking at your calendar. And here we have Wednesday, right? And the number of days in the month is 31, that we know. Right? So that's calendar.month range. We have calendar.weekday, where we pass in the year, the month, the day, 24, let's say. This will return the day of the week for the month and that year. So that's 4. What does that mean? If 0 is Monday, right? Wednesday is 2, we know that. Thursday is 3, Friday is 4. Let's go and check if 24th December falls on a Friday. So there you have it. Right, so this completes the calendar module. Now moving on in our session today, we need to do our project, which is the talking to-do list using Python, Tkinter and Google Text to Speech. We're going to be introduced to the entry widget and string var method. The functions we'll have are to do, that will be the main function, and then we'll have change text, right, for when a button is clicked, and we'll have one more function, check time, right, where this function will constantly run checking the current time, and then we'll use text to speech within this function to speak out the task that we've created. Right, so now let's go to the command prompt so that we can create a new workspace and then load Visual Studio Code from there. So first of all, click Run as Administrator. Get out of the System folder, cd/users/Python scripts. Okay, that will take us into this folder. And now we'll make a new directory or a new workspace. I'm going to call it task list. Change directory to task list. And then code space dot. Now that this is loaded, we can proceed to put in our code. I'm going to name this to-do app. You can call it whatever you like. Of course, it has to have a Py extension. Press enter, and now we can start putting in our function. So first def to do. That's the first function, and we're going to start by putting in the date. Okay, we'll look at the imports later on. Right, so today equal to date.today. We have another variable, today's date equal to str of today.day plus a / plus str of today.month, and we want a / again plus str of today.year. We're going to use this variable today's date in our window title. The next thing we need is a list. We're going to call it task list. The reason we need this list is we're going to have a text-to-speech kind of a function in this program. But from where is that text going to come? Right, that's going to come from the tasks that the user keys in using the entry widget. So we need to access the entry widget text or the task that the user has keyed in and then save that somewhere. So you're going to use a dictionary to save that and then add that dictionary to this list. The dictionary will come next. So here we have new task equal to task. That's the key. And the value for now will be blank. Then we have hour, another key. And the value for that will be 00. And then we have minutes. And again, that value will be 00. So this is a dictionary, and we'll use this dictionary to put in first the text of the task, the button text for the hour, and the button text for minutes. Right? And then of course we can match the current time against these to check whether the time for when the task is to be read is reached, and then of course submit that to Google Text to Speech. Okay, we need buttons as well, so btns equal to, so double dimensional list. This is going to have 12 rows and 2 columns. For y in range 2, and then for x in range 12. Remember, y represents the columns, x here represents the rows. Now we come to our window, the main window. So m window equal to tk.tk. Right, that you're familiar with. M window.title. The title here is going to be in all caps to-do list, and then we can say for as well and leave a space there, plus today's date. Okay, you can just pick up that variable from there as well. Then we set the geometry, m window dot geometry equal to, we're going to use 400 by 800. You're free to use any dimensions you like here. And now we have another list. I'm going to call it entries, and this is going to contain objects of string var type. Okay, and string var we will use in order to access the text from the entry widget that the user types in as a task. So for x in range 0, 12, as we have 12 rows, so we can have 12 tasks. Right? Now it's time to place our button. So for x in range 0, 12, and then for y in range 0, 2, right? And then we have btns x y equal to tk.button. Where do we want the button placed? On our main window. The height of the button is going to be 1. The width of the button is going to be 2. The command that will be executed when the button is clicked, we're going to specify here. We're going to pass in the parameters of the row and the column. So lambda x1 equal to x, comma y1 equal to y, right? And then the function name, so it's going to be change text. You can put in any name you like, and we're going to pass in buttons and the row and the column as well. Remember, it's not enough just to say this. We need to use a grid method to position these buttons at a particular place. So btns x y dot grid, and of course a row will be represented by X and the column will be represented by Y, and that's the position where the button will be placed. Right, so we finished these two for loops. Outside the for loops, we need to call check time, and this will be the function where we will implement text to speech after comparing the current time against the task time. So we need our main loop. So mwindow dot main loop. Right, so I hope this is clear. The next method or the next function is going to be change text. And of course we're going to have buttons and X, or let's call it row and column. Right, remember RNC represents the same X1 and Y1 that's coming here, and of course we have buttons. Right, now here we need to check whether the user clicked on the minute button or the hour button. How do we know that? Remember, we have only two columns. Right, the leftmost column, that's a 0th column, represents the hour, and the first column of column 1 will represent the minute. Here we check if C is equal to 1, which means a minute button is pressed, then we're going to be incrementing minutes by 5. So minute plus equal to 5. That's just a variable name which we will define. Then we need to check if minute is greater than or equal to 60. Right, so 60 minutes gone. Then what do we need to do? Minute needs to be reset to 0. And hours, which is another variable, should be incremented by 1. Right? And we can then put the hours here as text on the button. So BTNS of R, that's the row and 0th column, dot config text equal to hours. Right, so I hope you're with me. Since hours is incremented by 1, we're just putting that on the button. Now we check for if minute is less than 10. Why? Because if it is less than 10, we need a 0 in front of that. So it reads 0, 1, 0, 2, etc. Right, so if minute less than 10, BTNS or C dot config text equal to 0, that's in quotes of course, plus str of minute. Right? Now that we've done that, what if it is not less than 10? So else, then BTNS row and column dot config text equal to str of minute without the 0. Right? Okay, so that covers if the button pressed is the minute button. If the button presses the hour button, so I'll have C equal to 0. You can leave a space there for easy readability. Minute is reinitialized to 0. We need to check if the button already had an hour in its text. How do we do that? We say previous hour equal to BTNS R0 What do we use to access the text on a button? cget, right? cget text. Then we check if int. Why are we using int? Because this is text on the button, we need to convert it to integer. So if int of previous r, if that is greater than 0, then hours will be assigned int of previous r. Irrespective of whether it is greater than 0 or not, hours has to be incremented by 1. And then we need to check, of course, if hours is greater than 24, then hours will be initialized to 1. Right? Okay, and of course then we need to place this text on the hours button. So btns r 0, right, dot config text equal to str of hours. Right, so here again we need to say str. It cannot be just hours, because remember this is text, so just change that, str of hours. Now we need to allow for the user to enter text using the entry widget, and for that we're going to use a boolean type variable, and we're going to check the value of that boolean type variable to see whether the user has entered something or not. If the user has entered something, we of course need to go ahead and save that task in the dictionary, and of course add the dictionary to the list. So here we're going to have entry made, let's call it, you can call it whatever you like, and we just create that by saying it's equal to false. Right? Now after this, or rather within this, we'll say if bool of entry made. Now what am I saying here? If I say if bool of entry made, I'm checking whether the value is true. If I say on the other hand not bool of entry made, I'm checking whether entry made has the value false. In this case I want to check if it has a value false, so I'm going to say if not bool of entry made. And here we will use the entry widget, so task to add, that's just a variable name, equal to tk.entry, and then m window, that's where we want the entry widget. The width will be 40, and we're going to use a text variable parameter which will allow us to access from entries the string var text. Okay, so entries of r. Then we use the grid method, so task to add dot grid, and we specify row equal to r and column equal to c. Now if we say column equal to c, think about it. C would represent the hour or the minute. We don't want that, so we're going to do one thing. We're going to add 3 to that, so we are away from the hour and the minute button. You can change this to 4 or whatever you like. See how that works. Then we use a focus method so that the cursor is positioned in place for the user to type in the task. So focus. Then we say if entries of r minus 1 dot get, I am using the dot get method which I spoke about earlier. It will allow us to retrieve that text from the string var not equal to null. Then what we'll do is we'll put into the variable tsk, and you can call that anything you like, entries of r minus 1 dot get. Right, so now we'll have the task into this variable tsk. We'll then change our boolean type variable to true. So entry made equal to true. Right? Then we say here if entry made, or rather if bool of entry made which means the value is true, then we'll get into the variable hr the value for the hour. So int of buttons of r minus 1 0 dot cget text, and then minute or mn equal to int of btns r minus 1. Now we need the minutes, remember, so the first column dot cget text. Right? Hope you're with me. Then we can now assign these values to the dictionary. So here we can say new task and then specify the key task equal to tsk, right? And then new task hour equal to hr, and new task minutes equal to mn. Now instead of just adding it to the dictionary, appending it, that is, we need to check if it's already there. So we'll say here if new task not in tasks list, then tasks list dot append new task, and that completes this function. Now question, we're using new task here, but we define it here, right? So here we specify global new task as well as task list, right? And in change text, since we are changing the value here, we'll again declare it as global, or we can just define it here again. You can of course try it without this, just adding global here. Now of course we have squigglies here, as you can see, hours, minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to declare those as well global, initialize them here, equal to 0, 0, and here within this method we'll declare them as global. Right, so now those squigglies have gone. In date and TK, we need to import Tkinter and date. Right, so let's do that. So we have another function, def check time. Right, so below that we'll have the imports. Import Tkinter as tk from date time, import date, and we'll see if we need more imports as we go along. We still have M window and entries that have squigglies, and again we could make those global as they're defined here, as you can see. So comma entries comma M window. Right, now if you look, we do not have any squigglies. Now let's go ahead and define check time. And in check time, we will start by first getting the current time. So current time equal to time dot local time. Right, and then for x in range 0, 12, if int of btns x 0 dot cget text, right, equal to current time dot tm underscore hour and int of btns x, and now we need to look at minutes, so 1 dot cget text equal to current time dot tm min. Then what we need to do is we need to now access from the task list the task, right? So txt equal to task list x, and we need the task. Now we need to import gtts as well, so from gtts import gtts, right? And we also need to import play sound, so import play sound. Now we can use them here. So text to speech, again a variable name, equal to gtts, and we pass in text, right? And then text to speech dot save into an mp3 file, so play text dot mp3, and then we can use play sound to play the task, so play sound dot play sound, and pass in the name of the file. right? Now there's one more thing we need to take care of here. The next time we try to write into this file, we will get the error access denied. So what we need to do is to remove this file after we play the task. For that, we need to import OS. So we're going to add to our imports, import OS, and here we say os.remove and put in the name of the file. So now we are ready for the next time we need to record, or rather save a task that is converted to speech, right? Now since we found a task, we need to of course break out of the loop. Otherwise we need to continue in the loop, right? So else continue. And of course we need to make sure we call this method every minute. So mwindow.after, and you say 60,000 milliseconds, which is 60 seconds, right? 1 minute check time. Now you can see we have squigglies here, right? We need to import time. So the time squiggly is gone. We have buttons here, right? So we can declare buttons global, or we can pass it in here, btns, and then btns here, right? Now we need to call the main method here. So let's do that. Now we can run this. Okay, we have an error here. So here, okay, the problem is obviously to do with our buttons. So if we go here and we look, right, we're not assigning text to the buttons, right? So here you can say btns x y dot config text equal to, and that will be just string of 00. It's not finding any text there and therefore giving us an error. Let's run this now. Okay, let's check whether the hours are working. We should increase to 24. Right, and then we should be able to now set a task. The time now is 5:22. I'll put it at 17. Remember, we have a 24-hour clock. 17:25. Let's say walk the dog. And then let's go back to 17. And we'll make this 30. And say catch up with the news. Now we have an error here, check time, missing one required positioner, buttons. Okay, so what we're going to do now, right, just to make things easier, right, we're just going to make buttons global, and then we shouldn't have that problem. So I'm going to take it away from everywhere where we passed it in, and just make it global. Wherever we are changing it, then we have to declare it global again. So let's do that. We just say here buttons, right? And we just build this. And in change text, we just say buttons, right? And in check time, we're not really changing the buttons, are we? No, we're not. So we shouldn't have an issue there. Okay, I'm going to run this now. And we put in a task for 17:35. The time now is 17:33. So let's make this 17:35. And then we have 17:40. And then 17:45. Right, so we have 3 tasks. We'll see how that works.
Walk the dog. Prepare presentation. Catch up with the news for the day.
Right, so that's it. This ends our session for today. In the next session, we will talk about fancy printing and web scraping. That will finish our Python series. Till then, take care, stay safe. Bye.